Welcome to another NEA guidance video, and this one we'll be looking at testing. This is from the mark scheme, and I've only bothered putting up the top two tiers because really if you're going to engage in your testing you want at the very least do extensive testing. So we're not really talking about a volume where you're making sure you've got enough. It's about the quality of testing today and what you're really trying to achieve. When we look at the mark scheme, you can see that we've got words like robustness. So really you're trying to show how robust your solution is. You're also looking that you've met all of the requirements, how complete your solution is. So when you're doing this testing, you are trying to make sure that you have shown that all of your requirements have been met. Your solution is complete. It's worth 15 marks to you. If you can prove to your marker that your solution is complete, bish bash bosh, you get 15 marks from the technical solution section. If you can show that you have appropriately used Group A technical skills, this is from the technical solution, then that means you're in the 19 to 27 mark band, the top band of the technical solution. In the moderator reports we've got back, they have become increasingly keen to see that any skills shown have been shown to work in the testing. Not worth quite as many marks, but in terms of robustness, this will decide whereabouts in the band you are, basically the quality of your solution. And also this is one of the key features for whether you're getting top band marks in the testing. So rather than just testing it once, test it several times and show that you can't break it. And we're going to talk about how to do that. I can't emphasize strongly enough that this is not a session where I'm teaching you how to test software generally. Okay, this is purely for the NEA. It's a pretty specific set of circumstances where you've created a solution basically as a wanna, and you're now testing it to show that you've got everything you've tried to create working. Okay. You are not given any real marks for the iterative testing you've done all the way through the project where things haven't worked and then you fix them and then you've shown them working afterwards. That's not what this is about. It's the end product. You're just showing it works. So philosophically, this is not like good quality testing, but what it is, a showcase of your solution. That's what you're trying to do here. So we're going to do this thing called functional testing, and it's where you go through probably, you've created a plan that is roughly mapped out either in terms of the workflow of your solution or in terms of your requirements, and you'll conduct these tests one after another. Great. In addition to the functional tests, really in order for you to showcase your technical solution and prove that your technical skills work, there needs to be some white box testing. Literally going in, putting in breakpoints, putting watches on values, iterating through. If you've got a minimax, showing that you go down the recursive tree, selects the highest value and come back up the tree to return the highest value from all the options. If you've got a database call that you return the value that you expect to return. If you've got something networky that the connection's made and the information's transferred, you get the idea. Things that you could infer from an end user experience, black box testing, but something that really, if you show the individual values, irrefutable proof that it's working. But predominantly you're going to be working black box. Okay, I think white box testing should be left just for the 2 or 3 things just to really prove that it's working as it should do. If you're doing a physics simulation, a calculation, so you could do a hand draw calculation, say in this circumstance the value should be X, Y or Z, and then you can actually go into the program and show it. Most of the time you just want to show the program's behaving as expected. Okay, so you create a plan, have a load of scenarios, have a load of test data sets, and run through the program showing that it behaves as it should. Right, key feature of any program is really showing that as well as it working for the expected range, for the correct values being entered, for the standard user interactions, it should also not work or not crash for invalid ones. So let's say you're playing chess and you try and make a legal move, or you are playing Connect 4 and you try and go one too many on the depth of the column, or you try and select a player that is not available. If you've got a team selection solution, you get the idea. 1, you shouldn't be allowed to do it, and 2, the program shouldn't crash. So that's things you need to test. Obviously, just validated inputs need to be checked to make sure that they're behaving as expected. But if you've got data structures, can you break a stack if you empty it and try and pop something from it? Can you create a situation in a physics simulation where you get infinity or something or other? You get the idea. Once you've tested those 2, the third case that you really want to check is boundaries. Okay, the extreme cases where it should still work. So for instance, let's say for Connect 4, are you able to create a draw where every single square is filled, but the game behaves as expected and says, oh, you've had a draw? Or for a database, can you keep deleting things, keep deleting, I don't know, records from a particular situation, users or something like that, and when you try and delete a user from an empty table, it returns and says, that's invalid actually, but you get the idea. Right, how are you going to evidence this? It's all right doing these tests. How are you going to stick it in your documentation? So always you're going to have a testing table. These are going to be numbered. I'll talk about this in a moment, actually. The second one is you're going to have a video, or ideally more than one video, where you're talking over your tests, saying what's going on. Crucially, that video is going to be stored on some kind of sharing platform, whether that's YouTube, Vimeo, or just stuck into a folder in OneDrive, as long as your marker can definitely access it and the moderator can definitely access it. Because if the moderator can't access it, they have every right just to say there's no evidence. Just in case it all goes Pete Tong and the video doesn't work on the day of moderation, and for some reason the moderator doesn't feel like they want to contact your centre to see if they can get the videos. If you've got a load of screenshots of tests working, of your solution created as part of testing, it does kind of at least give a moderator something to work with. Right, testing table. Look, I'm not saying this is what you've absolutely got to use, but it kind of makes sense. This is fairly old school. This type of table's been around in various guises for coursework for years, and it's a fairly standard way of evidencing. So you've got a test number. Most important reason why you're using a test number is because in your evaluation, you'll be able to say tests 1, 7, 9, 15, 23 all show that requirement 1 have been met. So it'll make it really easy for you. You're going to say what type it is. Is it typical, erroneous, extreme? You know, you could give some other details, but crucially you have got to explain what the test is just in a few words. Obviously on the video you can give more detail. If it's a traditional piece of data like a date of birth, then you can literally say what that is. If you find that you're going to be using the same sort of inputs a lot, you can say here is a table somewhere else which has got a set of test data in it. Let's say a few records that you're going to be using, so user details or I don't know, scores or something else. You can and just keep referring back to test data set 1 or test data set 2, but whatever. Got to say what you expected and then what actually happened. Crucially, you're then going to either timestamp your video or refer to a visual screenshot. Ideally, that video timestamp is a link. I think like easy tricks for that is you record your video, you follow your table, and if you keep flicking back to your test table in between tests on the video and say test number 25, when you go to YouTube and upload it, you can do an auto transcript, and what you'll see is that in the transcript you'll be able to see the words test 25, which of course you could search for, and you'll be able to grab the timestamp from there. Have a play with it. It works relatively well. Save you a bit of time. Okay. There is nothing more frustrating than knowing someone's put a load of effort into a video. You've got a test table with 100 tests on it. You're like, oh my goodness, it's big. You open up the link, YouTube's there, and you see a 4-hour video. You know, you think this video feels like it's long. Watching somebody run a load of tests and you're 1 hour in and they still haven't got off the login screen. They've tested it 50 different ways. It's just the most depressing thing in the world. And then what's particularly depressing is if then, when they get to their really, really killer algorithm that you know works, they just like flick through it in about 15 seconds because they've lost the will to live. So I would test your most important things with the biggest time and make sure that the least important, the things that are going to get you the least marks overall, are tested the quickest. And just double check, have a plan. Make sure you do test table first, so you've got your list. Make sure that you've covered off your requirements, and make sure for the really, really important things, you absolutely sell it, showing it's robust. Okay. So at this stage, some people normally ask me some questions like, oh, but for my technical solution, there's this weird error I just can't get rid of. I've got no idea what it is. It's something to do with the library I'm using, or it's really odd. It works 99 times out of 100. Should I go out of my way to show this on my testing? Now, obviously, if you're testing software for real, it's vital that you highlight any bugs, that you then, ensure that as part of the quality assurance processes, they are sorted out. For your NEA, you are not going to get any extra marks for showing something doesn't work. you also will lose marks because your solution isn't robust and there are elements of it that don't work. I will leave it to your conscience whether you decide that you want to go out of your way to show something really niche and weird not working just for the sake of it. That said, if you are skipping over big bits just to try and show it's not working, just to try and hide the fact that your whole solution doesn't work, it will probably be seen through. Okay, and worse still, it will start for us to doubt, the validity of the rest of your evidence. So you have got to make your testing real, but you don't have to go out of your way to try and prove that you've found something that doesn't work. There's no extra marks for showing something that doesn't work, just so you can talk about it in evaluation. That's not a thing in the computer science NEA. So demonstrate robustness, demonstrate completeness, and just try and make sure that you can do that as absolutely to the best of your ability. Right then, obviously you're going to stick this on YouTube. You're going to make it either public or unlisted, and over the past 10 years quite a lot of other students have also done that. If you just search for AQA NEA testing onto YouTube, you will get squillions of really fascinating content with students slowly and laboriously testing their NEA solutions. Obviously you don't know whether they were good or bad, but after you've watched 2 or 3, A, you're going to really confuse the algorithm, but B, you will get a view for what's good and what's not. Right then, I hope that you have found that useful, and honestly, all the best for testing it, because it's not an easy job. I strongly recommend before you start spending serious time on this, you double check with your teacher that your requirements are absolutely as they should be, and that you're confident your technical solution is as good as it can be. All the best.